It's time to have a look at a new devblog for the next major update for War Thunder, and this time it's for a Squadron vehicle, which is the JF-17 Thunder. This is going to be a rank 8 jet fighter that is coming in for China, which you can research with the Squadron RP stuff, so you don't have to research through the whole tech tree in order to get access to it. This vehicle will be available day 1 on the new update, and also, as a little extra bonus right now, War Thunder are actually doing a little code thing so you can get yourself a decal in the game. So if you go to your Gaijin account and then go to the store and then activate code, which is in the store section on your profile, if you type in 52 monkeys, all in caps by the way, so 52 MONKEYS, you can get yourself a free one. I'll put it on the screen for you, and also the decal you can get, so you can get some free stuff in the game. Anyway, let's get into the history of this vehicle. For a long time, the Pakistan Air Force has been an operator of Western fighter jets, such as the American F-104 and French Mirage. In the wake of the Indo-Pakistan War, however, the PAF increasingly resorted to adopting Chinese aircraft into service due to Western sanctions. Soon after, Pakistani and Chinese engineers began working together, developing a new fighter on the basis of the J-7, which featured a new engine, side air intakes, and improved radar. The project received the name Sabre II, with Grumman aircraft joining the project later on. However, Pakistan ended up procuring the F-16A, which shifted focus away from the project. Nevertheless, Grumman and the Chengdu Aircraft Corporation continued work on the project, modifying the original design and renaming the project to Super 7. However, Grumman soon pulled out of the project. In the mid-1990s, work resumed on the Super 7, with Pakistan planning to adopt the aircraft as a support fighter for the F-16. With further design changes following in the late 1990s and also early 2000s, the JF-17, as it eventually became known, undertook its maiden flight in August of 2003. Following a successful test period, the aircraft officially entered service with the PAF in March 2007, replacing most of the outdated imported aircraft of the previous century. The JF-17 serves with the PAF to this day and has taken part in several military operations since its entry into service. So looking at the JF-17, it's interesting to have a look at the pictures because they all kind of show a different amount of ordnance that you can carry and different types of ordnance which are interesting. And since this thing is kind of a weird mix of different ideas, it looks very similar to an F-16, but also it has access to the RD-39 engine, which is actually the one on the MiG-29, which is kind of fun. So we now have a single-engined vehicle with the MiG-29 engine, which can go Mach 1.6, but also it has ordnance from all over the place. So this thing can carry GBU-10s, 12s, and 16s, but then also it can carry the Chinese GB500 and 250s. So there's a weird mix of American ordnance and also Chinese ordnance here, which I don't think we've actually had on a vehicle previously. The offensive capabilities from an air-to-air point of view on this thing are also kind of interesting. So you have a dual 23mm universal cannon. This has 200 rounds of ammunition. If only it could have had a Vulcan. The goddamn 23mm comes back again. Hopefully it'll have a good fire rate and hopefully a good muzzle velocity. I'm sure it will, but it's just nothing compared to something like a Vulcan. The other thing is the air-to-air missiles that it has, we haven't actually seen before. So we have the IRPL-5E2 missile, so it'll be really interesting to see the stats on that one. And then also you have the SD-10A radar-guided missiles. So these ones, it seems like you can actually mount them on kind of a dual mount. So you can carry 4 of these plus 2 IR missiles. And it'll be interesting if that's enough for people. I generally think that's a pretty decent loadout, but also at the same time, there are vehicles now that go around with, 10 missiles, 12 missiles now? So it's going to be interesting if you can actually use them all. The other thing that this vehicle has is the BRM-1, which is a laser-guided anti-ship missile. And this is another thing which has started to kind of creep into the game. These anti-ship missiles, there's obviously the Tornado event vehicle with one. I believe the Buccaneer S2B has one. Now this has one too. So we're going to have to see how they actually work. It also has a bunch of conventional stuff, including standard bombs, rockets and things, to make it a little bit easier to grind out, because more modifications means cheaper modifications across the board, which is good. It also has some kind of targeting pod, so you'll be able to use them from high altitude too. This vehicle is stacked with ordnance, and the only question when a vehicle like this is stacked with ordnance is it going to work from each point of view? So is this a vehicle which will be good at the air-to-air stuff, or will it be lacking in terms of, I don't know, countermeasures or air-to-air missiles? Will it be okay in the cast setup, since it only seems to be able to carry 2 of the larger kind of guided bombs? Maybe it can carry more on kind of like the central area, but it looks like more of the hard points are just on the wings themselves. But it does say there's 7 hard points, and usually that means you have the wing hard points, so 3 on each side, and then also you have one in the center, and there is a targeting pod for the center one, so I'm guessing bombs will be able to go on that one too. So it'll be interesting to see how that works out for the vehicle itself. But it's another Squadron vehicle. We haven't had one in ages, the last one being the F5E. I'm sure people who've been doing the Squadron stuff and getting the maximum points in the Squadron stuff have been waiting for a new vehicle to come around. And this one, being a very high-ranking vehicle, rank 8, is pretty nuts. I've always liked the idea of Squadron vehicles being stuff which is more mid-tier and low-tier to try and help people fill out lineups and have a bit of fun with them. This one doesn't really seem like that. This one is just kind of an addition, which is going to take ages to grind out and also just feel really nice when you end up playing it. So I'm not sure what the plan is here for this one, apart from it's just going to cost a metric ton of RP for somebody to get access to. But it's nice to see Pakistan more in the game. You know, this is I think our first Pakistani vehicle. There are obviously some Pakistani skins that are around, but this one is the first true Pakistan vehicle. I might be wrong on that. There might be a ground vehicle, but I don't think there is. I think instead it's this one that we're having a look at. So the other question that isn't really talked about here, which is the most important for a vehicle like this, is its radar. You know, it does talk about its RWR being very modern. It does talk about its radar being quite good, but that doesn't really give us any pointers. But the radar and the RWR are so key nowadays to making these vehicles useful, because you need to know what threats are coming in, and also you need to be able to target them, especially if the major ordnance on this thing is mainly radar homing missiles instead of IR-guided stuff. Without a good radar, this vehicle will be dead in the water. But since the vehicle came out in the early 2000s, I'm sure it will have a good radar, so I'm not really too worried about it. There is a ton more news coming out today, it seems like. Don't know if there's going to be any dev streams yet. Nothing's been announced, so we're kind of keeping on top of everything as we go ahead. But if there is, I'll make sure to stream it for you, make sure to cover everything, and make sure to get yourself that Wukon decal as we go around. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank GMG Smiley, CD Beans, Chieftain Mike, EMN3 Galaxy, Tulio Pontecorvo, Brendan Quinn, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Wartinder, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Ozzy Panzer, Alan Hacker, Liam Shear, Opium Prime, Lafouche, Sem, Aslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R. for supporting the channel.